I'm about to tell you the exact same system that I used to get myself out of 3 years of chronic back pain. Back to lifting, back to playing sports, back to living life pain-free. And this isn't a secret. I don't believe that resolving chronic back pain should be put behind a paywall, coming from a guy who spent 3 years in it, right? However, I will say I do believe that the system does carry an inherent risk, and that risk is time. I spent half a year rehabbing my back, and it all started when I was put in bed for a week going on a run all the way back to deadlifting 335 pounds pain-free in my garage 6 months later. Now, realistically, I could have cut that in half if I had somebody in my corner telling me when to push forward, when to pull back, and generally just what to do in the first place, right? Because back pain is super case dependent, and it almost always requires an assessment to actually figure out what's going on in your specific case. That's why some of these cut and dry online programs don't work. What works for one guy might put the next guy in bed. It may not address the imbalances that are keeping your specific pain loop alive that needs to be cut off for the pain to stop cycling back. And also just may not give credit to the various nuances that every single person has that they carry on a day-to-day basis, right? That being said, what I'm about to share with you right now, this system that I devised by myself after 3 years of being stuck and being failed by the medical system, is what physical therapists don't tell you. It's what doctors don't tell you. Chiropractors don't tell you this stuff. Even epidural shots, they did a little weird thing when they whisper into you, like, hey, I'm going in your back. They don't even tell you this shit either. But before we get into all of that, let me narrow down who this is actually for. Now, if you're somebody who likes watching these little YouTube videos, how to pop your back and feel good for 30 seconds, and you watch those every day, and you'd rather watch those than commit to a long-term plan, this is not for you. If you're someone who'd rather stretch, see a chiropractor, and chase short-term relief and chase symptoms instead of actually getting out of pain long-term for good, then this is not for you either. If you're not someone who can commit to sacrificing 3 days a week to bulletproofing their lower back, as an investment to be out of pain for the remainder of your lifetime, then I frankly wouldn't even want to work with you. But yeah, this also isn't for you either. This is for lifters. This is for athletes. This is for people hungry to get back to being a dog. People fed up with the conventional medical system that failed them every single time they shelled out their money, to a broken system that left them in pain for years, despite all the empty promises. And that's not what we do here. My system is different. And what it has to do with is something called your lower back's tissue tolerance. You see, when you injure your back, your brain sets your lower back's tissue tolerance to basically what is a net zero. Post-injury, your brain freaks out, it tightens up all the musculature in your lower back and locks it up in an effort to protect it and prevent it from re-injury. This is why when you rest your back for a week and then go and try to lift in the gym again, the pain just comes right back. Because you remove the stressor, but you never actually built the capacity to get back to doing that thing. And in this case, that is your tissue tolerance. It's basically what your lower back can handle. The best way I can really explain this anecdote is with a 60-pound RDL. You see, a year and a half ago, I had the strength to do a 60-pound RDL with pretty good form. I had the strength in my glutes, I had the strength in my hamstrings. I could get up the dumbbell RDL with good form, but my lower back didn't yet have the tissue tolerance to actually appreciate me doing that movement because it regarded it as unsafe. And keep in mind, this was before my rehab, right? So even though I was getting that weight up with pretty good form, my lower back still locked up like crazy that night and gave me pain signals the morning after because I didn't yet have the tissue tolerance to actually do that movement with a sense of security and safety that my nervous system was able to tolerate. Now, the way that you actually get out of pain is this graph right here that shows tissue tolerance in correlation to your flare-ups. Now, if you're in pain sitting here watching this, you know what a flare-up is. If you don't, it's when you do something that your back can't tolerate, you piss it off, and it sends you pain signals, it sends you tightness, sends you all those symptoms that you're familiar with. But what they don't tell you is that when your tissue tolerance goes up, your tendency to flare up also directly coincides and goes down. And you'll see this happen in real time as you rehab. But just to kind of put it in a timeline perspective, I have a graph right here showcasing what will happen if you do a movement that pisses off your back, and then what can happen when you actually build up enough tissue tolerance for your back to flare up less and less over time doing that same movement until the pain just gets killed entirely for good. And I display that in little levels here. So again, as an anecdote, my first year in chronic pain, if I tried to RDL even 135 pounds, my back would be in a flare-up for 48 hours. And that was a shitty 48 hours. Now, what I didn't realize all those years ago, and this is what happens as you rehab it, is when you approach something right here that I like to call level 2 tissue tolerance, and I kind of denote this with a 30-pound RDL. So let's say you're 1 month in your rehab and you spend 3 weeks building up to a 30-pound RDL that you can do pain-free, that won't give you a flare-up, that is helping you build active tissue tolerance. When you're at this level, you'll notice if you go back to doing a 135-pound RDL, something that would put you on your ass for 2 days, you'll notice that it only gives you pain for 24 hours now. Literally cuts the flare up in half in terms of length and duration and also intensity because you've built up enough tissue tolerance for your brain to realize that it doesn't need to send as intense of a signal to tell you to stop doing that activity. Because all that pain and flare ups really are, and remember this, is your brain telling you to stop doing that certain activity. So now we come down here to level 3. Let's say you put in 2 more months of effort rebuilding your lower back. And now you could do a 95-pound barbell RDL for a 3x6, completely pain-free, actively building that tissue tolerance piece by piece. Then when you go back and try that level 1, 135-pound RDL, boom, only in a flare-up for 12 hours. Cut in half again, right? Now, level 4 tissue tolerance is, let's say, 2.5 months in your rehab, 2.5 months into building active tissue tolerance. You try that 135-pound RDL again, and you'll notice that you're only in pain for 1 hour now because you've spent so much time building up your lower back's tissue and directly calming your nervous system. Suddenly you don't feel as much pain. Level 5 naturally is when you can do all the activities that you once weren't able to do with zero pain at all. And that's after you spend 3 to 4 months committed to building crazy amounts of tissue tolerance and essentially just bulletproofing your lower back. That is the system that piece by piece gets you back to lifting heavy weights pain-free. So you might ask, how, right? How do I go about this? Well, right here I have a list of movements that I use in my clients that can actively build up tissue tolerance by directly strengthening your lower back. You got back extension isometric, wall hip hinge, kettlebell RDL, reverse hypers. If you do these sequentially in order and add load and volume to them in a progressive manner that is called graded exposure, you don't just go from doing a back extension isometric all the way to deadlifting 135 pounds, right? Do it piece by piece in a way that your nervous system can digest over time. And that's how you rehab pain-free. And that's also how you progress through these movements and eventually get back to doing something like deadlifting 135 and then building up that deadlift from there, all the way back to the heavy weight that you used to be able to hit. Now, finally, the last piece of this puzzle is this graph that kind of just puts this all together, right? So we have here on the x-axis your tissue tolerance, and on the y-axis, your tendency to flare up. When tissue tolerance goes up, flare-ups go right down. These little dots right here are what I like to call deposits. So if you come to the gym one day and you do a back extension for 2 reps, you're laying down a deposit right here. This right here is laying down the brick to a foundation that is actively getting you back to lifting heavy and playing sports by directly strengthening your lower back. If you go to the gym and do stretches just to chase symptoms and try to get rid of the pain on one day, you're not laying down a deposit. You're just chasing relief on that one given day. If you stack these over time, not only does your lower back get stronger and you actively get more and more advanced until you're back to the movements and the sports that you once couldn't perform, your flare-ups go down. And this is what gets you out of pain for good. Because eventually, I'm telling you right now, you wake up and the flare-ups just come to a screeching halt once you've put in enough deposits. I have not woken up with back pain in months. 1 year ago, it would be guaranteed I would wake up every single day in pain, super stiff, not able to lift. And the reason I'm not doing that right now is because of this system right here. This is how I got myself out of agonizing pain trying to do a 135-pound RDL to Jefferson curling 225 pounds pain-free a year later. I'm telling you right now, you would be amazed at how much your lower back is willing to actually adapt when you feed it the right dosages at the right timing. This is also why the medical system has failed you. You go to see a doctor, they give you a diagnosis, they give you an MRI. Oh, sorry, your disc slips. Let me just refer you to a physical therapist. You go to that physical therapist, they give you endless bodyweight core exercises like dead bugs and planks and clamshells. Stuff that makes zero sense to program to a guy who's actively trying to get back to deadlifting 400 plus pounds. If you want to deadlift 400 pounds pain-free, I will build you there. I don't do short-term relief. I help people earn being pain-free long-term for the rest of their lives by giving them structured, segmented rehab that builds them up piece by piece over time. And I don't just stop there. I'm there to guide them through every single step of the process, right? I'm not here to give you a blanket piece of programming and feed you to the wolves. That doesn't help anybody. I find what it is you want to get back to. I find your current limitations, and together we get you back to doing the things that you love. That's how this whole entire operation works. Now, if you want to learn even more, book a call with the link below, and I'll help you get out of pain for good. I look forward to it.